everyone, and welcome to the Paul Hedrick Network, podcast episode 1. In this episode, I'm going to be doing my review of the brand new Spider-Man movie, No Way Home. Now, this will be non-spoiler, just because I want everyone to be able to see this, hopefully without having already had it spoiled. So, the first thing I'm going to say is that the story is absolutely incredible. And obviously, everybody knows that the villains come back, right? And I was a little concerned whenever I knew that we were getting old villains from old franchises. I was concerned that they wouldn't do it in a way that made complete sense, but they did. They explained it very well. And I have to say, too, that this movie makes Tom Holland a star. I mean, don't get me wrong. Tobey Maguire is always going to be my personal favorite Spider-Man. But Tom Holland, he's up there, man. He has officially, if the previous two movies didn't do it, this movie by far gave him the right to Spider-Man fame. He was so good in this movie. I will say, too, that there were two scenes. Not going to spoil them. There were two scenes. I've never cried in a movie theater, but there was two scenes that made me cry. Right there in the movie theater. Absolutely insane. I will say, too, that the Green Goblin was menacing. Even more so than in the first movie. I wish that he had had a little bit more action, but what we got was really good. Willem Dafoe is one of my favorite actors, and movies like this just solidify that. He was so effective. Even still, after 20 years, he was so effective. There is not one other person, all respect to Dane DeHaan, there is not one person who could play the Green Goblin like Willem Dafoe. Alfred Molina knocked it out of the park as Doc Ock once again. After, 17 years? I just absolutely love this movie. It was so good that I'm actually going to go and see it again. And I've never done that. I've made it a rule to not see the same movie in the theaters more than once. But this is going to be the exception. It is that good. As far as other non-spoiler review bits, even though the runtime is like 2.5 hours almost, I still feel like they could have squeezed in a few more minutes without it being overrun. It did take a little bit to kick off, but once it did not stop. And that is why I say it could have been a few minutes longer justifiably. There is also a mid-credit scene that sets up, potentially, the next trilogy, which I know that they've announced that they are going to have Tom Holland for the next trilogy, which is great. I think that Tom Holland is excellent as Spider-Man, excellent as Peter Parker. In the way that they're setting it up, I'm all for it. I will gladly go to those premieres too. I think that probably the most underrated role, not just in this movie, but in the entire trilogy and a couple of other movies, the most underrated role has been Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. I don't think that she gets enough love for that role. She does really good, not just in those movies, but especially in this movie too. I was really impressed with her performance, especially in this one. So if you're on the fence, for whatever reason, about seeing No Way Home, you've got to go see it. And I promise you, no matter how long you've been a fan of the Spider-Man character, you are going to absolutely flip out at this movie. It is so good. That being said, that is the first part of this podcast. I'm going to play a song, and then we are going to close out the podcast. This song is called Chokehold by Reclaim the Day. It is one of my favorite modern metal songs. Alright everybody, so that was my Spider-Man No Way Home non-spoiler review, as well as the absolute killer song Chokehold by Reclaim the Day. And of course, this video is not going to be monetized because it featured someone else's work. So go and check it out, go and buy that single from everywhere you can, wherever you do. Support the band, support their channel, I'll link it below, and go and see No Way Home. It is worth every penny you'll pay for it. including the concession stand prices. I will see you guys on the next one.